ngoài nghe ạ, you know. So the feedback I got was that she told me that I should put nghe ạ in the email.
Eating Vietnamese food doesn't make you ready to work in Vietnam.
Definitely did face certain culture shocks and culture gaps.
My style was very straightforward, and they thought that I was a very mean person.
Without HR making that flexibility, I wouldn't even be here today.
Personally drove me to some point of exhaustion where I didn't want to repeat that cycle again and again.
You said around 3, we order coffee or dessert, right?
3 p.m. is the snack time.
First of all, I would like to welcome all of you to our series content brought to you by Prudential Vietnam Assurance. My name is Linh, host of the series. In the podcast, first of all, we would like to interview our leader manager and also financial experts in the insurance industry. Through those conversations, I hope that you guys, the audience, can have the different perspective, especially on the changes nowadays. The topic today will be the story of the 2 Vietnamese returning overseas and how they choosing Prudential. And secondly, is their journey of jump into the different industries. It is their bonus or courage. And today I would like to invite our 2 special guests, and Chris Cao, the head of IT risk, and also Phan Ngọc Thảo Vy, head of PD business planning. And may you introduce a bit about yourself?
So hello everyone, my name is Thảo Vy and I'm currently the head of PD business planning with Prudential Vietnam Assurance.
Hello everyone, so my name is Christopher Cao. I'm currently the head of IT risk at Prudential Vietnam.
Okay, so maybe you can introduce a bit about yourself before joining Prudential.
So before joining PVA, I was actually studying in the States. So I was born in Ho Chi Minh City. I came to the States when I was 10 years old. So I grew up there. I went to UCLA, majored in business economics and accounting. So in 2019, after I graduated, I decided to come back home and find a place with Prudential as a management trainee at that time.
So for myself, so I born in France, in a city named Longjumeau. It's just nearby Paris, in the suburb of Paris. And I grew up and I spent more than 30 years of my life in France. So I majored in audit and finance in a business school. But during my studies, I developed interest for information technology. So that's where, when I started my career in 2010, I started my career in a audit and consulting firm, specialized in IT audit and IT advisory.
Okay, so actually I see that, and Chris, you came back from France and we came back from States. I would say like American dream people would like to study abroad, come abroad, especially like France or like America. Why you choose to come back to Vietnam?
Well, I think deciding where to live is actually up to the person, right? So for me individually, I just like the vibe in Ho Chi Minh. And with all of my families still in Vietnam, I just wanted to return home after I finished my studies. And another reason why I wanted to return to Vietnam was basically the career opportunities in a developing market. I feel that I will be able to pursue countless opportunities if I were to return home. So that's the reason why I decided to come back.
How about you?
So for myself, I always wanted to work in Asia back then when I was a student. So that's why I took every single opportunity to move abroad. So when I was still a student, I studied in 6 months in Shanghai, China. I did some internships in Hanoi, Ho Chi Minh City. That's where I started to get my network in Vietnam back then, 2008. I did some internship in India as well. But I graduated in 2009. So back then it was the global financial crisis. So extremely hard to find a job and even harder to find a job abroad, right? So I still managed to land a job in consulting in my hometown, Nantes, in France. But in the back of my mind, I always wanted to, at some point, to go to Asia. I love the excitement of, the environment of working in Asia. But why Vietnam specifically? I have this connection with Vietnam because my parents are Vietnamese. Even though I'm born and grew up in France, actually I say that I returned to Vietnam. So it was also due to personal reason because I wanted my mother to come with me, and Vietnam was the best choice, obviously, because she would feel at home in Vietnam.
Okay, so may I ask, what is the trigger point when you made your decision? Like the emotional trigger here, and then you say that, okay, this is time for me to back home. This is time for me to jump into another different industry. This is a time when I want to work for this company.
So emotions have always been a part of the whole decision building up. It's not like a trigger point because I don't make my decision based on one emotion. But emotion has always been something in the back of my mind as I prepare to move. But I think the trigger point here is when I found an opportunity with PBA. Because back then, like I was just moving back at 22 years old, not having a network in Vietnam, existing network, but receiving the career offer to join PBA was actually that trigger point. And I think when I got that offer, it made my parents more confident that they allow me to, or not allow me, but it made them feel more confident that, you know, I return home to start my career here.
Yes, as you know, as I mentioned before, I've been working 14 years in consulting, which is a significant amount of time in this particular industry. And at some point, I was seeing that year after year, it was repetitive. That's one thing. And I don't like repetition. It's always the same cycle, the same fiscal year, the same goals, the same KPIs. And to be more specific about what I was doing before, right? In consulting, you have also a pressure on the numbers. Like you need to do KPIs, you need to do utilization. Every day you need to log in your timesheet. So you need to justify like from Monday to Friday, how many hours you spend on proposals, how many hours you spend on business development, how many hours you spend on project A, B, C. And that personally drove me to some point of exhaustion, right? Where I didn't want to repeat that cycle again and again. That's the first thing. Second thing, there is also this frustration of going at the surface only when you advise clients, right? Because you have not only one client, you have many, right? And your scope of work is only what is in the contract, right? So once you deliver the project, the implementation most of the time is done by the internal team, by the client. So you don't see the real impact on the day-to-day of what you're advising or recommending to the clients. So I wanted to see what's on the other side, right? And that drove me to move to Prudential. I had this opportunity in 2024, this offer. Actually, my position is new. It's a new position in Prudential, head of IT risk. There was no head of IT risk before because Prudential reached the critical size and maturity and complexity that requires to have this specific expertise and team to ensure that we manage properly the technology risk within the company and for our customers.
In PBA, what is the difference? Of course, you have the KPI, right?
So what I would say is that at PBA, KPIs is not just the what, but there's also the how part of it, right? So it's not like you hit 10 points out of 10 points, then it's a KPI achieved, but it's like how you get there. So what makes it different is that leaders don't just look at the final outcome in terms of the quantitative outcome, but they also look at the best efforts that an employee puts in. So I think that's what is different to me in terms of KPI at PBA.
For me, when you mentioned that you applied for PBA, even that when you are in stage, how was that process?
It was actually an interesting process. So I knew PBA through a career post. I think it was on Facebook. And then I applied, and then I went through the online interview round and also the game round, right? So when I reached my last round of the selection process, it was an assessment center that requires you to be in person. But the date of that ACE was when I was still in the States. So I wasn't able to fly home on time for that ACE. So what I did was like I actually emailed the HR person at that time with very little hope that they would reschedule for me, but they ended up supporting and they ended up rescheduled to the day that after I landed in Vietnam. So I think that's like the difference point, because without HR making that flexibility, I wouldn't even be here today.
When you back to Vietnam, have you faced like the cultural shock in terms of like the community, the communication?
So I definitely did face certain culture shocks and culture gaps. Even though I identify myself as a Vietnamese, I speak Vietnamese, but once entering a professional workforce, things are just different, right? I talk in Vietnamese, but it's not like a casual way of talking. Writing emails, how to greet a person who is, first of all, older and more experienced, just very little things like that were already a shock to me in terms of the culture. And as I shared before, I was fortunate to have the exposure of two different cultures, the American culture and the Vietnamese culture. But what I had to do was to find the right mix. So for example, right, so I cannot be overly a pushover or overly assertive if that situation requires me to be more like yield or softer in terms of communication. So the key is to find a balance between the Asian culture and American culture and then adapt to the PVA environment.
Can you share a specific example when you have to face that culture shock?
Yeah, so I was only in my second week and I was assigned a task to chase or to remind one of my colleagues to send a document, right? So I sent an email very politely. It should say, please be reminded that this is due today. And then best regards, V. But what really shocked me was I got a feedback saying that I should be more like softer in my communication. So I was like, I don't know how I was supposed to be soft when I'm chasing someone who's late. So the feedback I got was that she told me that I should put yeah. Oh, thank you, Jill. And I was like, why yeah, you know? But she just told me it just makes people feel more comfortable and less offended when they get chased. So that was a very shocking example to me at that time.
Now, have you put any like yeah into like every email to chase people?
No, because it doesn't fit me, but I changed the tone a little bit. So instead of just make it really dry and professional, I actually put yeah or like just right? But yeah, it just doesn't fit me.
Yeah. And how about you? Have you ever faced any like the culture shock?
Yes, definitely. So being Vietnamese living in France, like just speaking Vietnamese at home, eating Vietnamese food, doesn't make you ready to work in Vietnam. It's a totally different story, right? Living and especially working here. I don't know about the US working environment. I just know about I used to work in France, right? But in France, there is a separation between professional and personal, a strict separation. Although in Vietnam, this separation is blur, right? And people tend to be more emotional at work. Like for instance, when I feed back to my team, sometimes someone sends me a document and I have some comment that it needs to be revised, it needs to be enhanced, then the person might take it very personally. Although I'm not commenting on the person at all. It's nothing personal at all. It's strictly business. I'm just saying that this can be done in another way, can be done better. You need to enhance this, right? But here, I had to learn the hard way that people can take it personally. So I noticed, not in PVA, but in my previous consulting company in Vietnam, that people start to be kind of against me because I was too straightforward. My style was very straightforward. And they thought that I was a very mean person. Actually, I'm not mean. It's just that it's only work. I have nothing against the person personally, but I just need the work to get done the way I need it to get done. So that's the first thing, the first cultural shock for me, like the more emotional. So I need to be more careful about this. The second thing is that when you work in Vietnam, from my experience and my observation, is that doing well and quality is not enough. You really need to build trust with the people you are working with the stakeholders, right? Again, I think it's because it's also personal, so the people need to feel that they can trust you. So you need to do the effort to build some connections and some relationship with the stakeholders that we are dealing with, either your clients or within the company, right? So that's also the second thing that I had to learn, because for me, before, when I was in France, as long as you execute well with the quality, then everyone is happy. But in Vietnam, it's not like that. The personal interrelationship is important everywhere, but in Vietnam is more important than what I've seen before in France.
Actually, whenever I think about insurance, I think, okay, this is dry, stiff, and this is not really attractive. So for you, how you assess this industry, and how about the other, like Vietnamese returnees assess this industry? Is this really attractive to like the young people?
I would say the life insurance industry in Vietnam is a very young market. I mean, the penetration rate is not high. Like it's 10% of the population. So it's like a growing industry, and there's a lot of potential for young talents, for experienced professionals to like even advance their career within the insurance industry in Vietnam. And there's a lot of moving parts. So the regulations change, the whole industry crisis just kind of reshaping the way that life insurance works in Vietnam. And all of that would just be the perfect timing for anyone, especially young talents, to jumpstart their career.
Yes, that's true that from outside, you say insurance doesn't sound like the most sexy industry in the world. But since I joined, there's so many things happening, right? First, it's a complex environment. The regulations you mentioned before, it's complex and always changing and evolving, so you need to catch up with that. For my part, that I look at more specifically is technology, right? So we have a lot of transformation going on. We have very exciting AI use case that we already implemented and implementing. So there are a lot of dynamics going on. So I think it's not just like boring or not. It's not just about the product itself of like insurance products, but it's also about the people that you work with, right? So first is the dynamic of the market of Vietnam is extremely exciting environment, like fast growing, a lot of areas of growing for Prudential, because as you mentioned, penetration rate is still very low in Vietnam. In the meantime, there is this commitment from Prudential to transformation. And again, in the domain I look after technology, there are a lot of transformations going on. So actually, there are a lot of things to do. My team is super busy, so it's very exciting. It's nothing boring. Since I joined, I haven't seen anything boring about this industry at all.
I see that when you back to Vietnam and joining PVA at like a very young age, 22, and then you move up in the career ladder as either MT. So in your team, may I ask like how many people in your team? What is their average age?
So currently in my team, around 10 people, and all of them are older than me, except one person is like a year younger than me, and their experience is way more than mine. They have like up to 10 years of experience with the industry.
Yeah. So when you lead a team with like most of the team members are older than you, what is the challenge here and how you overcome this challenge?
So when I get the opportunity to transition to a new role within PD, I definitely faced a lot of pressure and a lot of challenges, right? So like you said, in Vietnam, leading someone who is older and who is more experienced, or just leading in general, I think it requires trust and good communication. So I would definitely imagine that one of the challenges that I face once someone here that I'm stepping into this head of department role would definitely be doubts. That would be number one thing. Doubt is definitely like, is she suitable for this? Is she mature enough to lead a team of, like this many people. And I feel like once I get that opportunity and I say yes to that opportunity, I believe that both the company and I are taking some risk on ourselves, risk of me not succeeding. And how I actually overcome it is, I always believe that I need to earn trust from the members. And how I earn trust is just to be very genuine and be very authentic. So when it comes to the new team, I will not hide what I don't know, right? I will ask. If it's something I don't know, I will ask. I will not pretend like I'm a know-it-all, because I actually don't. And I respect each of the person in my team differently. I treat them with respect, with care, and I treat them with the experience that, they know more than I do. So by building that trust and relationships, by doing that, I feel like leaders will be able to lead with their team and also lead with influence. So that's what I believe in, and I'm still working on that day to day.
In PV, any other tool or like supporting system to help you overcome this? For example, like while they're working in the bank, they do have like anonymous letter to your leader. Just for example.
PVA, there's a lot of coaching and mentoring opportunities. So HR did reach out to me and like ask me to identify a mentor that I'm comfortable with. And they actually encouraged me to, like book frequent lunch or catch up with them. And besides the relationship meetings, there's also a LEAP program for leadership. Basically, you go to like a 2 days workshop, hear from experts, and actually bring it home and apply. But what has been working for me is I learned through observations. So I learned through my past leaders. I watched them lead the team, and I learned their success, but I also learned what they didn't succeed in. And I try to reflect and apply that to myself.
But back to your case, when you said that you recruit like 3 people, how is criteria for you to recruit a team member?
On one hand is the technical expertise, right? I need, like for instance, like recently I just onboarded a senior manager specialized in cybersecurity, data, and privacy, right? So it's pretty niche, not easy to find in Vietnam. So the one criteria is the technical expertise. The second one is the agile mindset, right? Continue to learn, be able to keep up to date with the emerging technology, emerging threats. And the third is to be able to be good at stakeholder management. Because in risk, not just technology, but in risk management in overall, you need to be able to influence the stakeholders, right? So stakeholder management is also one part which is quite heavy in our job. You cannot just be good technically, but if you don't know how to communicate with people, it doesn't work. Or if you just know how to communicate with people, but technically you don't have the background, it doesn't work neither.
Can you share a concrete example when you have to manage the stakeholder by communication?
Okay, so to respond to your question, stakeholder management. So the things you mentioned, you work for the banking industry before, right? And you said that usually the teams are afraid of risk. I think in terms of stakeholder management at Prudential, we are here to there is this misconception that risk is like might slow down some initiatives, because you need to have the green light from risk before you implement some initiatives or go live some systems, right? But we are not here to slow down anything. Like, we need to change at pace rapidly. I mentioned that digital transformation, all those new technology initiatives needs to go at pace, because we need to keep up and be competitive. So definitely we are not here to slow down, but we are here to help the company and the stakeholders to master the risk. So to ensure that we can do fast, but we need to do it right. We need to do it right.
Like, if it's impossible, then I would need to play my role as the leader of the team to, in a way, manage the expectations of my boss and find a solution, maybe that extend that deadline by until tomorrow instead of midnight today, for example. But at the same time, managing up is one thing, but also managing peers and managing down is another thing. So I would explain the context to my team members, and so that to help them understand why there's a need for change, motivate them. What I actually learned from my ex-boss, he's no longer here, but what I really appreciated is that once he get the changes and he feels that the team is not happy, he actually takes us out for like snacks or coffee, even just half an hour break in the workday. And after we get back, like I myself and also my peers feel more motivated, and we just dive in. So that's what I learned from one of my bosses, and I find that to be a really, really good way to motivate and engage the team members and actually get their hands-on support.
Because we need to protect our company, obviously, but most importantly is to protect our customers, right? To ensure that our customer, like for instance, the information, like it is well protected. That's one example. So in the way we communicate with the stakeholders, I try to, convey that message, to show the value of risk. So I'm also like a kind of internal advisor to raise the points that maybe the project team is implementing a new system didn't think of. So my team is here to make sure that first we comply with all the security requirements and we comply with all the regulatory requirements, but we also add value by advising, and to ensure that there are some points that they are not missing. Okay, so again, we are not here to slow down, but back to the stakeholder management, it's important to remind that in our communication. Otherwise, if I just send an email and I say, have you done ABC? It doesn't work, right? So we need to work closer with the stakeholders and make them understand really like what's the purpose of risk management, why are we doing this, and what's the value.
If I'm your friend asking, hi Chris, how about the working space in Vietnam? I'm also an expert in insurance. Should I come to Vietnam and work?
Working in France back in the days was like I was in a highway, like a very clear path, but also repetitive. It's like a cycle repeating itself. And here everything is in the discovery mode. It's like a big adventure. So it's the dynamic of the market of the developing country, right? Although Prudential has a long history of Vietnam, operating in Vietnam for more than 25 years, but it's still in a transformation process, right? Since I joined a year ago, so many change happening. So I said to my friend, it's very fun. It's never boring. There are always things happening. And I would say, yeah, the keyword is fun.
Let's say you have a conversation with a very young and then at very beginning of their career, like me. How would you say to this young and then very passionate in working environment in PV?
Find a place where they value you and they invest in people. And Prudential is definitely a place which invests heavily in people. Like there are a lot of events for the employees, a lot of learning. There's some program, I think you were part of that, like the management training program. We're doing 1 year and a half, 2 years. 2 years when you did some rotation across different divisions. So you get exposure in all different aspects of life insurance, right? And that's also a boost in the career. Like V, I think is a testimony of that. Like she managed at a very young age to reach that position. And I observe myself since I joined Prudential that as long as you are a talent, as long as you are performing well, you will be recognized as a talent, regardless of your age or your background, your profile. I've seen very young people who are managing some internal critical projects, critical initiatives, and they are being empowered with a lot of responsibilities, but very young. So it doesn't matter. It's not like a framework when you need to have X years of experience before you move on to the next steps. Here it's like, okay, we recognize you if you're performing well. If you are a talent, you will be recognized as such at Prudential.
So it leads to a question to me. Actually, as I know, the MT, the Management Trainee Program, not only happen in PVA, we have it in other company, other industry. What is the difference here?
Nowadays, right, a lot of companies actually have that, whether it's a management trainee or a fresh grad. I think banks have it too, to attract young talents. But what I think, if you were about to decide which place I should come to, then look at the culture of that place. I think for me, I like PVA. And what I mean by looking at the culture is, like Chris said, right, find a place that invests in you. So what I would actually add on is also find a place, first of all, that's healthy, that's invest in you, allows you to learn, to fail, and then to redo it. But another advice I would also give to the young talents, because I myself have been through it, is personal reflection. I feel like in Vietnamese, they're saying that, biết người biết ta, chăm trận chăm thắng, right? So first of all, know who you are and know what you want. You don't have to know it like crystal clear, but at least have an idea of what you are really looking for, and be open-minded, be courageous to take risks and then to fail. And also just, it's very important to be humble, because nowadays I feel like there's a tendency, it's very easy for young graduates to lose that humbleness. And I feel like being humble will get you very far.
Can you describe like a typical day working in PVA?
A typical day usually, so in the morning I would have some daily stand-up meeting. So we call that daily stand-up, where we're standing up, we're sitting on the
Isn't it
chair
like you
behind Microsoft Teams, but we just call that, it's agile
literally
method.
like you standing up and then
You can, if it's a physical
okay.
meeting, usually the principle is that you are standing up for a short amount of time, 15 minutes.
Should we stand up?
So the reason is to keep it short and concise.
Yeah.
So that's the reason we call that stand-up meeting. I also, not every day, but at least on a monthly basis, I will have like individual catch-up with every one of my team member. Actually, I have an open policy, right? They can come to me anytime. I'm very accessible. They can come to talk to me anytime when there is a concern, an issue, or whatever. But I still want to have this channel for them, an official channel for them, so we can discuss one by one, and they can raise with me any concern that they may have. It's open. I allow them to challenge me as well. So it's like maybe they disagree with my decision, or maybe they have a different perception. So I want them to be comfortable to raise, because sometimes when you are in a Teams meeting, the whole team is there. Someone may have an idea, but may not feel comfortable to share in front of everyone. But in a one-on-one, you can make your team member more comfortable by sharing.
What would keep me feel organized is that I set out a task in order of importance, in priorities that I need to clear for the morning and then for the afternoon. And then if things come up, then I would just keep adding them, but then I would make sure that I know which one is more urgent. And yes, as you said, around 3, we order coffee or a dessert, right? That's one thing. And I feel like the team is very excited for that on a daily basis.
So 3 p.m. is the snack time?
So as we mentioned before, when you face with a culture shock, so how can we achieve that core value, overcome the culture shock you face with when you join PVA?
I think for me, it's always back to having an open mind, to respect the differences, the diversity, whether it's in age, in nationalities, in thoughts, or just in personality in general. And I feel like in PVA, people are open-minded to respect and to appreciate the differences among each other.
So are there any opportunity to work in your team?
Definitely, the opportunities are always there, right? So I think for my team, the opportunities that I always give to anyone, especially young graduates, is I would learn what they want in their career. So as I said before, knowing what you want.
It's very exciting opportunities, because you will do things that are, let me rephrase. We have exciting opportunities. In my team, we are working on like a very exciting use cases like AI use cases that we need to, do the risk assessment. So we need to ourselves to learn. So it's not something like that's static and keep repeating. Since last year when I joined, I've been working for Prudential for 1 year now. There are so many things happening, so many initiatives. So I need to prioritize because I cannot be everywhere. My team cannot be everywhere. Right? So I need to prioritize what are the most important initiatives that our team needs to be involved, right? So there are so many things to do. It's like a big playground where I have so many things to do.
Điều gì mà khiến cho mình thấy háo hức, thấy vui vẻ và thấy phấn khích khi mà mình làm việc tại PVA?
7 năm trước là Chris về là chỉ nói tiếng Anh, đi làm việc là nói tiếng Anh. Bây giờ nói tiếng Việt cũng nói lỡ lỡ nhưng mà vẫn nói được. Cái điểm thứ nhất là Chris thấy làm việc ở Prudential là cái môi trường nó rất là supportive, right? Từ lúc Chris join, tại vì Chris cũng mới trong cái industry này về life insurance. Trước đó Chris có làm consulting nên không phải là expert trong life insurance. Thì Chris có nhiều câu hỏi tại vì Chris phải hiểu cái industry nên Chris hay hỏi rất là nhiều về very basic question for life insurance, like ví dụ persistency là gì, mấy cái key metrics mình đang follow hàng ngày á, thì mọi người rất là supportive để giúp Chris là on board quickly, like mentoring, coaching, training, all these things. Thứ hai là the key point là it's fun. Là trong công việc là it's always fun.
Thật ra đối với em, điều mà khiến em háo hức khi đi làm ở Pro thì nó back lại cái câu chuyện là con người. Bởi vì em cảm thấy là em khá là may mắn khi mà những người sếp trước đây của em đều là những người sếp cực kỳ giỏi và cực kỳ tốt. Những anh chị đều rất là quan tâm đến em, quan tâm đến các bạn trong team. Và em nhớ có một câu mà có một người chị sếp từng nói với bọn em là đi làm thì phải vui. Em luôn tâm đắc câu đó, cho nên là em cảm thấy là cái việc mà em đi làm mỗi ngày, em được gặp những đồng nghiệp. Trong meeting thì mình có thể cãi nhau, mình có thể disagree, mình có thể debate để ra một cái solution chung. Nhưng mà khi mà ra khỏi meeting rồi thì mọi người bonding với nhau như là những người đồng nghiệp tốt, như là những người bạn. Thì điều đó làm cho em háo hức và kiểu như là em sẽ không thấy công việc của mình bị quá là nhàm chán hay là quá là toxic.
Chris muốn trả lời y chang như Vi nhưng mà không có đủ vocabulary để trả lời, cho nên let's just agree.
Nãy giờ thì thấy mọi người khi mà kể về làm việc tại PVA thì đều vui và mắt đều thấy rất là ánh lên những cái ánh cười ấy. Thì Linh tin được rằng là thực sự PVA là một môi trường rất là tốt và rất là vui, cũng là một nơi mà chắc chắn là hỗ trợ cho những bạn trẻ đang mới ra trường này, hoặc là những bạn trẻ Việt Nam ở nước ngoài đang tìm cơ hội để có thể quay về cống hiến cho Tổ quốc. Thì một lần nữa rất là cảm ơn Vi và anh Chris đã chia sẻ cùng với chương trình First of All. Cảm ơn mọi người đã tham gia chương trình.